Just a brief summary of how you got into sprinklers.
Basically, a family trade, really. Three out of my four uncles in sprinklers, cousins in sprinklers. Got a job, you do sprinklers, and that's how pretty much, I'm afraid, how most people get into it. It's just someone they know says, come and have a job. Very different to plumbers or electricians. You get thousands and thousands of kids turned out from college and careers advisors telling them to go and do it. There's nothing like that in sprinklers at the moment.
The pricing model is similar to Sparky's. They charge per point. Would you say the majority of sprinklers do that?
That just comes down to, on the larger the job, it will be, people try and drive you down onto a price. Again, the bigger the job, you're relying on other trades. So when we put sprinklers, we've got to put sprinklers up before the ceiling goes up, like our first fixed pipe, for example. But sometimes you'll go on a job and the dry liners are short of work. They'll flood a job with like 50 dry liners and whack ceiling up left, right and centre. For me, if I had a leak above a ceiling in a new build, for example, they'll charge me 400 quid to have an hole cut for me to access it above. By the time you've cut it out, add a dry liner in to patch it in, a plaster in, a painter, it's an absolute nightmare. The bigger the job, the more risk you are or your guy's not doing it. Therefore, it's all on the price. So I try to find that medium-sized job where you can never fall behind.
Has any one of your installations had to put out a fire before?
Yeah.
It has?
Yeah. Down at the O2, there's an insurance inspection, and this particular restaurant, they said, there's a shortage of sprinklers in here. They've done some mods or whatever. So I got sent down for a company based in Birmingham, and I went down and done a survey myself, pointed out about where I reckon they need about 5 sprinklers, just dotted here and there. And whilst I was there, I thought, I've never been down here before. It's a lovely little restaurant. There's a all you can eat barbecue restaurant. It was really, really nice. So I recommended it to a young fellow who's working for me, who's taking a bird out. I said, good thing is you go in there, you know exactly what you're spending. So the following weekend, on the Mondays, come to work, he went, oh, you're out of order. What are you on about? He goes, that restaurant you said, he said, that's shut down. I'm like, what are you on about? They're shut down. I was only here a few weeks ago, putting a few more sprinklers in here. Yeah, no, they're shut down. I had to go somewhere else instead. It cost me a fortune. Lo and behold, I went down there, got a call, a couple of days later, there'd been a fire. And what had happened, the ductwork hadn't been cleaned out properly and caught fire. And one of the sprinklers that went off, it was only about 3 sprinklers went off, and one of the sprinklers that went off, put this fire out, was one of the ones that I'd been down on the insurance inspection, highlighted I needed one over there.
Oh, really?
And it put it out.
So welcome to Off the Job, the trade podcast. Today we're delighted to have Pete Timon from Timon Fire Protection Limited. It's a trade that not many people know about, is it, the sprinkler game?
They kind of do and they don't. They know about it, they see it on TV, they hear about it, but no one really hears about getting into it, how you get started.
You see it on the films, and like they just spray out everywhere, don't
Everyone's
they?
scared of sprinklers.
Ruining furniture and rooms.
Bane of my life. The reason why people don't do things, but it could be further from the truth.
So obviously, it's not a thing that everyone knows about or know how to get into. So just a brief summary of how you got into sprinklers?
Basically a family trade, really. Three out of my 4 uncles in sprinklers, cousins in sprinklers. Got a job, you do sprinklers, and that's how pretty much, I'm afraid, how most people get into it. It's just someone they know says, come and have a job. Very different to plumbers or electricians. You get thousands and thousands of kids turned out from college and, careers advisors telling them to go and do it. There's nothing like that in sprinklers at the moment.
No, there ain't, is there?
No.
I think it's a good opportunity, a good trade to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, other countries take it a lot more seriously. If you go to Australia or America, it's all very unionised and they're real shit hot on training and getting people into the job. Where in the UK, for one reason or another, it's just not like that. And unless you've been dragged into it, I mean, before I got into sprinklers, I kind of vaguely knew about them, but that was it. And that's the case for virtually everyone I've employed since, really, because you either take someone from scratch and teach them the right way of doing it, or you have journeymen, if you like, of people who've been in the game and been taught by other people, because there's no recognised educational route. It's who you've been working with will determine how good a sprinkler engineer you are.
So are they trying to bring in any education for it, or?
Yes and no. Through the CSCS scheme, bigger builders and main contractors, they want you to have a trade-specific card. For years, sprinkler guys used to just get a construction-related occupation. Now they're requesting a sprinkler card. Only problem with that is there's no real course. It started with two places that did it. There was a college in Manchester and a college in Wales. Weren't enough people doing it. I think the one in Wales is shut now. And there's sort of like online training that you can do, but it's costing thousands and, takes over a year to do. And for that's for people who have been in the game for 20 years like myself, or if you're new to the game, you're supposed to do like a 2-year course. But, how do you do that?
It must be, because obviously it's not known about. It must be hard to find the engineers to actually do the job. Would you say it's very undermanned, the trade, in terms of how much work out there is?
Massively undermanned. I mean, when it's a case where we're busy or really busy. There's no in between. Quite often in sprinklers, you'll get asked to do a job, and they'll say, one of my busiest times, for example, was in the last recession, because project engineers used to ring up and they go, "Oh, I'll get Pete to go and do this job. He might be busy. He won't be as busy." Whereas before, it would be a case of not, "Oh, can Pete do it? Can we get anybody to do it?" That's how drastic the labour situation is in the sprinkler industry.
And obviously, quite a few years ago, when was it? The Grenfell.
7, was it? 7, 8 years ago, maybe?
Would you say they've tried to clamp down more since that's happened?
Yeah and no. I mean, the problem is with Grenfell is it's more residential. So in the commercial industry, sprinkler regulation and stuff like that is really tight. And that largely comes because of insurers. They want to protect the integrity of the building.
Yeah.
Wonderful byproduct of that, you're protecting people. But it's all about the integrity of the building. The problem with residential, until it got passed into law and new builds over a certain height will all have protection, anything that was prior to that, there was no law to do it retrospectively. So the issue there is, if you think of it from a landlord scenario, now that landlord could be your local council or whatever, if you didn't put central heating in, everyone will be up in arms. So that's a cost they have to put in. If the lights didn't work, there's no electricity in the building, everybody would be up in arms. Now, if there was no sprinklers industry, prior to Grenfell, if there wasn't sprinklers in the building, the tenants didn't care, no one really cared, so why would the landlord pay that additional cost? That was a real easy out for them, so they just didn't do it.
It's kind of a problem. It's not a problem until it's a problem, innit?
Yeah, and the problem is, I don't want to belittle other trades, but, if your light switch don't work, your light switch don't work. You get a torch, don't you?
Yeah.
Same with your toilet. If your toilet has a problem with your toilets, you can knock your neighbours, don't you? If there's a fire and you ain't got sprinklers in there, what are you going to do? And
There's a lot of people don't have fire extinguishers either.
No.
All you have is you rely on the fire brigade and your fire alarm.
Well, the problem, the problem with a fire extinguisher is exactly the same as relying on the fire brigade. It's someone has to notice the fire has occurred. Now, if you have a fire within a building, everyone kind of knows smoke kills. Often the smoke kills before the fire does. So with a sprinkler system, they're fully automated. But they work instantly. If you had, for example, 4 sprinklers in this studio, and that light over there set alight, the sprinklers in that vicinity would go off as soon as it hit 68 degrees, put the fire out, and the likelihood is, of the other 3 in this room, just wouldn't go off at all.
People think every single sprinkler comes off. So if you've got a warehouse full of
watch TV. Yeah. We need to escape. Press the fire alarm button, and all the sprinklers go off everywhere. Yeah, no, that's a bane of the industry, really. Even one of the insurers did it on an advert a few years ago on TV. It was an advert on telly and set the sprinklers off in a house.
It's a myth.
It's an absolute myth. And like I say, people need to change. People say to me, "Oh, yeah, what if there's a leak? What if all the sprinklers go off?" And I go, "What if your radiator leaks?
Yeah.
What if your tap leaks? What do? You turn off the water and you get it fixed, right? There's no difference."
People are just naturally scared of water, aren't they? for some weird reason.
Well, again,
I mean, it's damaging. There's a reason to be scared of water, because it can be damaging. You know, as plumbers, when we go to bed at night, sometimes we think to ourselves, "Did I do that up?"
Do you ever have that?
I don't want to.
Oh, sprinklers it's like, particularly when it comes down to testing. You start testing. We do an air test before
like
we put
a shop front as well.
We're doing shops. I mean, we work in Harrods, for example. You know, we've had issues there before. Westfield. You're doing a test, and all of a sudden, whenever you're testing, your hearing just becomes that little bit more acute. You know, as someone using a drill like 10 shop units down, it's like, can you hear that humming? Is there water coming out somewhere? Is there air? And you're like that. It's an absolute nightmare. But yeah, totally. Sometimes you go home and you think, did I leave that valve open? Did I leave it right?
We had a story from someone, didn't we, on one of them? Like, didn't he flood out? Wasn't it something to do with don't think it was a sprinkler system, but he left a valve open in the station, wasn't it?
That was you.
Was it you?
That was me.
That was you.
Whoa.
Tell us that story.
Let's rewind. Okay, right. That wasn't me leaving the valve open.
The electrician or something.
So when you go to any sort of shop unit or a shopping centre or an office building, you know, you deal with maintenance. So I've always been taught since I started, you know, when the maintenance engineer says they've isolated the sprinkler system, go and verify it for yourself.
Yeah.
No matter how many times they say, I've done it. But you would not believe the amount of people who don't want to show you. They go, well, I know what I'm doing. I've done it. And I'm like, listen, mate, I'm not trying to second guess you. The boss always says to me, you know, you try and back away and say it's not you. And this guy said to me, no, I've done the right one. There's only one. There's only one sprinkler valve. I went, okay, mate, no problem. So off I go. This was at the Ashford at the Euro Tunnel. Just a little concession on the platform, stripping out some meds so they can rip the ceilings down. Whack this head out. Bang! Water everywhere. The alarms have gone off. People are evacuating their gaff.
6 bar.
Well, it could be 10 bar of pressure. Now, just to give an example, a fireman's hose from the fire brigade is 6 bar. You're talking 10 bar of pressure firing out everywhere. So all I do is I'm hunting around. I want to find this maintenance guy now. He's long gone. So I shoot off, looking in the direction of where he came from when he said he closed the valve. You know the old fire door's got the little glass bit in the middle with the wire mesh. I look through, there's 2 valves there, and I'm like, mate, you've got to be kidding me. So I end up running into W.H. Smith's, and Bird's going, oh, we're evacuating. There's a burst water pipe. And I said, I can assure you it's not a burst water pipe, all right? And I need access in a door. Get me on the phone to maintenance. I got him to come round. They've shut it down. I said, mate, honestly, I just asked you, let me check for you. You told me there's only one. He went, yeah, there is only one. One for upstairs and one for downstairs. And I said, and you've isolated the first floor. I've ended up in a boardroom. Imagine at Eurostar, they stopped temporarily, trains coming in from the continent, right?
Man.
And I'm there, they're looking at me like it's my fault. And I'm like, listen, in the nicest possible way, this used to be terminology for calling someone a C in extrusi. They could benefit from more training. The problem is, whenever you have maintenance, you've got the plumber on shift. You might have a sparky, you might have this and the other. And it goes back to our early conversations. All these different trades, and they try and have one of each on at all times so they can master anything. There's no one who's taught in sprinkler gate. And he had this little book. He said, look, it says close valve number 1 and open valve number 2. I said, yeah, but in that little schematic of yours, number 1 is the incoming water supply to that valve. You could have 100 valves, and the incoming water supply is always labelled up as number 1. You could have 100 labelled up as number 1, and number 2 is a drain. So all you've done is you've isolated a different floor, and you've drained a different floor, and you've sent me.
What area was the water coming out in?
Like I say, it was a
on
concession. Imagine in the platforms. Yeah, so...
So we said
10 bar of water.
The trains were floating
That's
down
a lot of water. Onto the platforms,
boats.
down into the tracks.
Really?
Mate, honestly, there's nothing that makes a sprinkler guy run as fast
Was you on your own?
as a head out of a live system.
Was you with someone? You must have been with
Well, I
someone.
was on my own. It was a proper nightmare, so I won't go into that. But firm I was working for,
Oh,
you know what it's like getting a bit of merch, right? They gave me a nice new jumper. I ain't had a jumper for years out of them, like trying to get a work t-shirt out of them is murder. And there I am, soaked through, head to toe. This jumper's up there trying to tidy up and everything.
And it was flowing onto the track.
Flowing onto the tracks a lot, yeah. So,
You won't.
They didn't have it again.
Don't trust the maintenance
Don't
guy.
trust anybody. Don't trust anybody, no matter what anybody tells you. You know, I'm a cynical guy, and I have it all the time with people who work for me, and I'm like, no, mate, I'll check.
Yeah.
I'll check.
You're going to sleep better at night, ain't you?
Absolutely.
So how does Harrods work then? Have you got anything?
Well,
Does anything
Harrods,
happen there? 'Cause
it's like the biggest job in the world. There's like painting the Forth Bridge. The reality is what they're doing there is they're replacing every single service within the building. So it's fabulous, really. They're hoarding off entire areas, taking it back to base build, getting rid of all the asbestos, every single trade, all new water supplies, all new air conditioning, all new electrics, everything like that. But it's not really being done from a bottom to the top sort of manner, if you like. So they might have hoarded off areas over here, and they'll shunt the people out of there, and they'll do a temporary shop fit over there.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what
it's
people don't
constantly moving it
realise
about.
because I've been a few times, you and I, when a shop changes out to another shop and they change the layout, you have to change the sprinkler layout. So it's not you fit it once
Oh,
in
right,
that
yeah,
shop.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah,
lots of
'cause
rules and regulation about the spacing off of a wall. It's got to be a certain space away from a wall. Can't be too close, can't be too far. So if you put a wall up, you'd have to change it.
Yeah.
And when they rip the ceilings down, different ceiling heights.
Well, ain't no
different
good a
bulkheads.
sprinkler being in the middle of two rooms, like
Yeah.
in the wall of two rooms.
Exactly
yeah.
that. Exactly that. So you get a
There's a lot of changes, isn't there? Like that shows how much work there is.
And
every time a shop
ordinary,
changes.
we'd have to be in there first. You know, we've got to isolate and drain the sprinkler system down, so before anyone can rip the ceiling out. So we're always kind of be the first in and the last out, really, which is a right pain.
Sounds like a bit of a.
Is there anyone
heavy
trying to
duty.
get people in the trade? Like, is
Not
there like an
really.
organisation that's?
No, and if there are, they're not shouting loud enough, quite frankly.
Do you get ex-plumbers?
We'll get anyone, really.
Yeah.
Again, me as an employer, I'm exactly the same as the industry, always crying out for people.
Yeah.
I often find it's really hard sometimes to teach an old dog new tricks. Sometimes you get people coming on. My brother-in-law, for example, he's been working for me for 20 years now, and he had a guy just recommended through another guy who works for us. It was his cousin. Off he comes. So he's been working for a day. By the end of the day, he's gone, yeah, I think I can do this. I could be a sprinkler fitter. Yeah, I think I need to speak to Peter and get some more money. My brother-in-law was like, mate, you've been here half a day.
Yeah.
He went, yeah, this is easy, this though, isn't it? It's easy, this though. And it's like, the thing with sprinklers is, in many ways, I do find it quite an easy job. There's just lots and lots and lots of little things. So all got to be done in the right order, all got to be done in the right way.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant because it's not as technical, for example, in plumbing if you're doing a boiler engineer. Obviously, there's some parts in plumbing that'll be, quite basic and quite easy.
Yeah. Like you
and
said,
have the
pipe
technical
fitter
side.
and then the
So
plumber.
in sprinklers, a lot of it's like that. You'll have people who do, shop fit outs and just running pipe work in, and then you get the bigger, lumpier guys who just want to chuck 6-inch mains in and look at all that main I've done, that sort of thing. And then there will be the really technical parts of it, but most people won't even really get into that. There's no need. So it's really good for anyone out there who does want a job in sprinklers. There's no sort of baseline entry requirements.
No.
You ain't got to have anything. And for the most part, if people want to turn up and go and do a day's work and listen and learn, the biggest thing about sprinklers is as soon as you're reliable, you're better than 90% of the people out there in the first place.
Yeah.
And I've always said, and still with my guys, it's not about being brilliant. I've had some brilliant sprinkler fitters, generally brilliant sprinkler fitters, but they might do a 3-day week, and I never know if they're going to turn up. I've got an important client. I'll have my
You want an all-rounder, don't you?
above average guy who turns up every single day.
Yeah, you want an all-rounder.
Turns up on time, doesn't let you down. They're the guys you want. Apart from the fact that you let me down today, actually, Paul the sickie. So I had to go in on the tools today myself.
Yeah.
But there you go.
So the pipe sizing and all that, what size pipe is it that you use within sprinkler system? Is it all barrel and thread, or is it
All barrel on groove. So we'll do, as a general rule, most shop fits will be anything from inch pipe work to 4-inch. But you can go up to 12-inch, carrier mains to feed big warehouses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've installed from 12-inch, but like I say, your day-to-day on the screwing machine be inch quarter, inch and a half,
Yeah.
far away.
Yeah, because you're always looking for people, aren't you?
Always looking.
What are you using as jointing then? What do you use? Are you using
Same as it's been.
PTFE?
PTFE on
Fred-
brass heads, cotton and boss white, basically. Same as it's been last 100 years, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think a lot of plumbers might.
Do they use the liquid ones yet or anything like that?
They do. I don't like them personally. Liquid ones, they'll set. So if you've got to tweak it,
You
know,
can't move them, yeah.
You can't move them. You break the seal. Whereas if you use cotton and boss white and something either A needs tightening it up or your sprinkler head's not quite square, just crack it around a bit more. So cotton and boss white, like I say, they got rid of hemp. Some people still use hemp, but it's effectively the same sort of process as it was 100 years ago. I go in places and there'll be a valve set that's been installed for 100 years.
They turn all right.
Yeah.
But the gate valves aren't going.
Everything does with a pair of 24s on them.
But I tell you what,
24
gate valves, the fittings and gate valves in plumbing are crap,
Oh,
in
they're
they?
shit.
The red
They're
gate
in 2
valves.
years and they can't.
Oh,
yeah, the
full.
red one. Do they still sell them?
Yeah, we still fit them.
They're so bad.
Shit. Can I use like?
The Pegler ones are the
I
best.
just prefer lever valves now. I don't even bother with like gate valve type. Sort of.
Yeah, I like
I think
ball
that's
valves.
popular in your.
Ball valve's good, but no, in the sprinkler system, they have a
This all the
great big
big-
6-inch,
Yeah.
6-inch gate valves.
Is there much servicing in? Do you do much servicing in sprinklers, like the pump rooms and stuff?
There is servicing, so I tend not to do as much of it. But it's a bit like everything, You've got a sprinkler system that has got seals, rubber seals at the valve set, for example, and the seals perish, so you change them, you clean them. I mean, you do a weekly service. Well, I say a service. The maintenance engineer will do a bell test. Now, all the bell test does is a sprinkler valve is just like a great big non-return, really. So when the sprinkler system is full, the valve's nice and closed. Yeah. What you want to make sure is when the sprinkler goes off, it's a pressurised system. When the sprinkler goes off, the pressure decreases because the water's running out, right? So then that clack lifts up, and then fresh water runs in and causes a pumping. So, on a weekly basis, they'll do a bell test, which makes all that's doing, as much as they say the bell didn't ring very loud or the bell lifted, all that does is that when the bell rings, it's because the clack has lifted, i.e. hasn't sealed closed. Yeah, so make sure it lifts, and therefore, in a fire condition, the water will get to where it needs to go to. But then you'll do like a quarterly service, and depending on the system, you can have a town's main fed system, so it's just fed from the town's main, just like your house is, for example. Or it's a larger system, be a pump system. Now, pump systems will have an electric pump and a diesel pump, diesel backup in case the electric's down. And it's just exactly like your car. You wouldn't leave your car on a drive for a year and then plan to go to a wedding and expect your car to start, right? You'd have regular maintenance, a bit like an MOT if you like, and you run the engine once a week, turn it over, make sure it starts. So that's exactly the same in sprinklers.
Yeah.
Because you was moaning earlier about the effort of draining down a heating system
I hate it.
and the rad leaking, but I think the process on sprinklers is a lot longer. So what is how long? So say if you had to change a pump system and you had to change the head, how long would that take to drain down, fill up? Because the filling up process can take quite long, can't it?
So there's two different types. So really, the biggest problem we have is getting in the building and getting someone to isolate the alarm panel and make sure your permit's there and get started. Once you get started, if it's a shop unit, it'll just be a valve and you run a hose to the toilet or to a drain or whatever. However, it comes to filling up. So some places you can fill up off their pump, i.e. we'll crack the valve open when we're
Because you're
filling
meant
up.
to only fill up a certain amount at a time.
No, what it is, if you crack the valve and fill it up, their pumps will run. Okay, so if their pumps run, fill your sprinkler system up. There's no real issue with
So
doing
you
that.
need to use your own pump. to fill it up.
Apart from that, what they don't like is when you open that valve, you've caused the pressure in the rest of the system to drop a touch, and therefore the pressure switch kicks in and turns the pumps on and runs the pump. And what they'll say is, when that pressure drops, as a pump kicks in to repressurise it, it will set off the alarms in neighbouring shops, for example. So they won't want to isolate. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to backfill, i.e. now we drained down a big shop unit, for example. We got to connect an hose up, fill the sprinkler system back up with a hose, and then connect a portable test pump, pump it back up to the working pressure, so that when we open that valve, the other side is equal, and therefore it won't call the air pump in.
The alarm,
You know, if you do it in the middle of the night, for example, and all of a sudden the alarm's gone on in 10 shops going down there, and everyone's got to call out for them to isolate their alarms. People don't like you very much.
Yeah, imagine that process, filling up and then that starts leaking.
Yeah.
You've spent all that time
do that, and
filling
then
up.
you've got to drain it down and do it all again. Been there, done that. Plenty of time.
I don't. Yeah. What did you say? Like, so you was talking to us earlier about the efficiency of having a sprinkler system, like as in like house fire timings and stuff like that. Like, what would you? How would you describe like the difference of not having a sprinkler and having a sprinkler system in an house?
Oh, mate, it is chalk and cheese. You would not believe. I mean, I really don't think the sprinkler industry does a really good job of selling itself. You know, it leaves it to insurers to sell it. You know, I'll send you a couple of links you can add on, and you'll see the difference. So, many moons ago, probably about 15, 20 years ago, there's a housing estate up in Bolton, and the council was selling it to a housing association for £1 on the basis they were going to knock it all down and rebuild it. Now, back then, residential sprinklers wasn't a big thing, but they had decided they want to have a look at the cost-benefit ratio. If we installed sprinklers, would it be cheaper to install sprinklers than it would be in the event of a fire, having to rehouse the people who live that house and a few either side of them, you know. So in this area in Bolton, they said at this housing estate, the fire brigade would take 8 minutes from the moment they got the call to respond. So we installed 2 sprinklers in the front room. Yeah, quite basic really, 2 little sprinklers in. And they put a couch in, old couch came in, fire brigade were there, everyone. There was a guy in with his BA and his hose inside the room, and lit a firelighter, simulated someone falling asleep on a sofa, and within 2 minutes or less, sprinkler went off, put the fire out in 15 seconds, and I was like, wow! And I was amazed, you know. And then you got all these people, we've got the council, we've got the fire, and everyone's looking at me like I'm a right weirdo, and I'm like, what's happening? He goes, well, you're the sprinkler guy, you know how it works. I went, mate, not every day you get to set fire to it, you know. It's all theory.
We don't actually test our sprinklers by setting something on fire.
You test it works, you know, as much as pressure test it, and you make assumptions. It all does exactly as it's designed to do. So the next test, you know, when you was at school, everyone was saying shut the door in case of a fire, shut the door. I never really, no one really does that. Honestly, the difference. So again, we've changed out sprinkler, took this sofa out. Room was no real damage to it whatsoever, albeit we shut the water off as soon as the fire was out. Put another sofa in, set it up again. This time they left the front room door open. So as the fire started, the heat's escaping out of the room, escaping to the rest of the house, and then the heat came back down again. So it was about 3.5 minutes. Again, the sprinklers went off, and it probably took about 3 minutes for the fire to put out. It's a bit bigger now, spread. And I didn't realise at the time how exponential fire spread. So, you know, when you start a little bit of a fire, you know, something might be damp or just dry and it'll go. And as that's on fire, the bit next to it is getting drier and drier and drier, so it will heat up quicker. And then when you've got another bit of fire, then there's more heat and it's dry, you know, so on and so forth. So like I say, the second test they did, put the fire, sprinklers went off about 4 minutes, put the fire out in 3 minutes. Fabulous. So they said, well, next time what we'll do, we won't put the sprinklers back in, and we'll put it out. And we'll see what happens in this 8 minutes that it takes for the fire brigade.
What building was this? They were doing it in?
It was a housing estate. It was a housing estate that was getting knocked down. So,
okay.
So this time we did it. After 5 minutes, the double glazing start cracking, coming. The fire brigade decided, you know, the test was too dangerous to continue, and they put the fire out. And I was looking around thinking, this is after 5.5 minutes, you know.
Minutes, yeah.
You know, this is, then the sprinklers, they're responding within 30 seconds to a minute. You know, the fire brigade, their 8 minute response time is based on, you know, me being up, for example, I'm a bit of a night owl, I'm always up late, and having a look over and seeing a bit of smoke coming out of my neighbour's house who's probably fell asleep, you know, on their sofa.
Yeah, could be
you know,
4 minutes already,
could be 10, 20 minutes before anyone really noticed the fire's actually started. So you're really looking at, you know, a 60-second
You're talking about half hour,
minute response time, all fully automated, as opposed to half an hour. And then by that time, the fire's so big, the volume of water's got to go in. You know, the water damage.
And then
Like you
that,
say,
ain't,
they've got to
and
wake
that ain't
up.
that house, is it? That ain't just that house, then,
No,
is it? It's probably the next door if it's
next
a
door
semi.
neighbour. Yeah, that's it. You know, everyone out, people getting evacuated
Scary,
and
innit?
whatnot.
It's scary.
It's really scary. So I don't want to make too much of it, but going back to it, what's actually seeing them work is it really makes you
Opens your eyes, doesn't it?
have a sense of responsibility about your job, if you like. You know, make sure you're doing it properly. You know how it works. Where even in our industry, you know, a lot of people don't. Yeah, there'll be people that slap that. It don't matter, blah blah blah. You know, don't really need them anyway, do they? They never go off.
I'm getting a press gun.
And it's just and it's when it does.
Imagine if it did
Wow.
and your name's on it, and then someone like.
Well, exactly
passes
that.
away.
Exactly that. So I've put them in. The biggest problem with sprinklers is it's never whether the sprinkler system works. It'll always be down to human error. So we go back to earlier on about it going to sleep at night. Did that valve get off after we'd done our work? Did we fully open the valve? You know, because all the statistics say that there's never been a loss of life in a sprinkler protected building. Yeah,
really?
in the UK, never been a loss of life. So in the industry, it's a real pressure for the designers and people installing the big companies that they don't want that press to go, oh, someone died anyway. Sprinklers don't matter. Well, they do. They really do. And a sprinkler system installed correctly, looked after well. Like I say, it's like having, a fireman sleeping in your house 24/7, so that should the worst occur, you and your family, you're safe. And for me, I'd implore anyone to put them in. Absolutely, yeah. It is as important as your heating, is as important as your electric.
Especially if you're in a hot country with all these wildfires that are happening and stuff. If you have that start in your back garden, it spreads in your house or something.
I don't think they'll help with a wildfire.
No, but
It's okay, wildfires. Come and get them. I've got a sprinkler system.
stop coming in your house, mate.
We don't
A
really
wildfire would set every single one of your sprinklers off at once, right? And then you've got
You'd
no
probably
breakthrough in
drown.
the system.
He'd probably drown.
I'm like, come in, man. I've got sprinklers.
Great comment.
It's not just Keiran. It's the perception of sprinklers and how they work that is the biggest problem for sprinklers.
Yeah.
So
Can't you fit them outside?
if people
Fit them to trees. That was sort of wildfires.
if
It's
our
like the hose sprinklers, isn't it? You water your garden.
I said that to people before. They go,
so
"What do you do
it's
for a living?"
stupid
"Oh, I
stuff,
fit
isn't
sprinkler
it?
system." They go, "All right." And I said, "It's nice working outside all the time." Isn't it? What are you on about, mate? Sprinkler system? No, mate. I don't look after lawns.
That's what Lyd thought, didn't she? Lyd didn't really know Pete. She's like, "Oh, who's that guy that sells the water sprinklers for the garden?" I was like, "No, it's brilliant."
Do you get that though when you like? But to be fair, have you ever had that at work when you've had a leak at work or something? Somebody on site and they go, "Oh, I don't want a sprinkler system." Have you ever had that? No, always that.
I have it all the time.
Oh,
The problem
that'd
is,
be in a second shower or something.
you got a sprinkler up there, right? And then you've put an hole in the ceiling to put a sprinkler in. And you'll come along and there'll be water dripping out the ceiling. They go, "Sprinkler problem." I said, "All right." Sometimes you go to places and they go, "Was it raining last night? It's been raining heavy, isn't it? You got a leaky roof." You get out there. And you go, "No," or the AC's leaking and it's running along some ductwork and it drops. And where it comes out the ceiling, where there's an hole. But I like call-outs like that. You make a fortune from them.
Hello, you wonderful listeners and watchers. Just pumping the brakes on this exciting episode to let you know about Keiran's app that's changing the game in the gas certificate world.
If you're sick and tired of doing gas certificates on paper, then Gas Certificate app is your way forward. But it wouldn't be an app worth talking about if that's it. With no hassle, you can manage your diaries, invoices and quotes for all your jobs, so you'll never be chasing paperwork again.
Don't forget those boiler manuals. I can tell you how many times I've been looking at a boiler and thinking, what the? Thankfully, the in-app boiler manuals have saved me and got me out of quite the pinch.
If it's helped Pete here, then Gas Certificate app will definitely help you. especially with its easy-to-use gas reg calculator and the extremely handy ability to duplicate certs. Brilliant for when you're doing your annual services on previous jobs.
And for the icing on the cake, it has a complete offline mode. So if you're on a job in the middle of nowhere or servicing a boiler in the basement of a building with no signal, you've still got access to everything the app has to offer to keep you working hard.
So click the link down below or in the description. Use the code POD30 to get 30% off yearly subscriptions. That's for all new users. That's POD30 for 30% off our yearly subscriptions for new users. So commercial, do you have to have sprinklers?
Yes and no.
So
no.
like a building like this, you'd think it'd be good to have them. But
Be good to have.
It's an
It'll
old
come
building,
down.
but
Come
if
down
it's a
to
new
insurers. So what you got to remember, if you look in a shopping centre, if you had a fire in your shop unit, yeah, as well as your shop unit now not being able to trade and not been working, yeah, you've jeopardised next door's trade. All right. So your insurers going to go, have you got a sprinkler system? You know, what happens in a fire? So it's a requirement more so via insurers than a requirement. So I'm doing a place down in Rochester. They didn't really see a difference in having sprinklers or not. Had a sprinkler system now. They're a big family company. They've had the same insurer for years and years and years. And it's all been great. The son started taking over, reviewed a few things. He got his insurance policy. Now, don't get me wrong, so it's a big warehouse on a big trading estate. Their insurance went down by £2 million. And that's when they came out and they assessed the sprinklers. They gave them, oh, you want to have this live, you need to do this, make some changes. I don't doubt it wasn't just the sprinklers that made it £2 million. I think they'd been with the same insurance company for about 30 years, you know, and have been had their trousers pulled down a little bit. But so some people take it more importantly than others. And if it's financially beneficial for you to have a sprinkler system because your insurance is cheaper, people will have them. Or like I say, or if it's a requirement to trade, you must have sprinklers in here.
commercial generally have them, don't they?
Yeah, commercial generally have them.
Is there any regulation, like once it's fitted, is there any, like, obviously gas, you have to do a gas safe every year if it's tenant. Is there any, like, regulation?
Yeah, testing. Do quarterly testing on flow switches. So basically that's the flow switch that connects the sprinkler system to an alarm system. So you'll have a switch in there so that when the water runs through it, get a flow of water, the flow switch picks that up, sends it to the alarm system, and it'll evacuate the place as soon as there's a flow of water in the sprinklers, because it's, like I say, it's pressurised and stagnant, and the only time any fresh water will come into a sprinkler system is when water goes out. So whether it be accidental or in a fire condition, sprinkler goes off, flow of water, bang, sets the alarm off. So they'll be tested quarterly, and your pumps and your water supplies are checked. Basically, a lot of the servicing is making sure that the valves are open and they open and close correctly and everything. You go in there to double check that, through doing it intentionally.
And they'll still have the fire alarms connected to the fire and to the fire station.
Yeah. Quite often. Well, the bigger the place, they'll have it in house, and that's one of the issues we have when we're going somewhere we want to drain or work on a sprinkler system, is making sure that connection is isolated.
Does that come part of, like, how do you do that? Does that come part of that? So if you fit a sprinkler system out, do you sell it with that package type, like testing on that, or is that separate?
Well, it's all different, really. It's a bit like everything, So most places, you put a sprinkler system in, you'll warranty it for 12 months. So you'll do a maintenance schedule for it, but then ultimately that will just go out to tender.
Right.
So whether it be a brand of supermarkets, they'll have a preferred maintenance company. It might go out to CBRE, and CBRE might use different sprinkler companies in an area. So it can go out to anyone. Anyone they please.
The pricing model, is it, only what I know of it, is it's similar to Sparky's. They charge per point, and that's what, would you say the majority of sprinklers do that? Or what's...
Again, that just comes down to, on the larger the job, it will be, people try and drive you down onto a price. again, the bigger the job, you're relying on other trades. So when we put sprinklers, we got to put the sprinklers up before the ceiling goes up, like our first fixed pipe work, for example. But sometimes you'll go on a job and the dry liners are short of work. They'll flood a job with like 50 dry liners and whack ceiling up left, right, and centre. You know, for me, if I had a leak above a ceiling in a new build, for example, they'll charge me £400 to have an hole cut for me to access it above. By the time you've cut it out, add a dry liner in to patch it in, a plaster in, a painter, it's an absolute nightmare. So I try realistically to steer clear from the larger jobs that will be like that. But as you can imagine, as an industry, you know, as with anything, it's driven by price, and you know that's the way people are largely supervised. Really, is that guy working hard enough? It's not because we know Dave over there. He's a good guy. He's going to turn up every day, or James or whoever. He's all right. Or we need to keep an eye on him. You know, the bigger the job, the more risk you are, or your guy's not doing it. Therefore, it's all on the price. So I try to find that medium-sized job where you can never fall behind. Because if I've got several shop units on the go and I fall behind on one of them, my guys will be able to pull off other jobs, and we'll flood our job with labour to get back on track.
Yeah.
The bigger the job, the harder that is. You know, just getting people in and inducted and into a big building site in London.
Yeah, it's a bloody nightmare.
That's an absolute nightmare. So I've traditionally stay away from those large jobs. Busy enough elsewhere, you know. Don't really need it. Don't need the headache. But needs must. Yeah. So the bigger the job, the more likely you're forced to do it on a price. But like anything else, you know, the smaller the job, it'd be just you're in for the day.
Point. That's per head sort of thing.
Yeah, per sprinkler head.
With that story you said,
Yeah.
what so have you ever had to use? Obviously, it can make a lot. I thought of another story you once told me, but who was there any damages on that station? Like whose insurance had to?
No, not really, because in that scenario, as soon as you turn the water off, I mean, the concourse, the unit was in was a building site really. The concourse, you know, most train stations they're outside anyway, aren't they? So it's just a case of sweeping it. It's never been so clean. Do you know what I mean? There's so much water on it. It looked plush, you know.
Didn't you tell me once? I'm sure it was at a shopping centre. Someone done something and the water was all coming through the car park. Was that one?
Yeah. Well, the longer you're in the game, the more of these scenarios you'll see. So,
and there was all stuff that got damaged or something. Like
there was a temporary. So
yeah.
when you're working in a car park, no one's really too bothered, are they? Really? Oh, it's a car park. You know, it's in rain. Then sometimes you go from one floor to another, there'll be cracks in the floor, and the water will go down to another floor. But you don't really mind until you realise that you weren't aware it was a big shop fit, and Boots had a temporary storeroom built in the car park. And its water's gone in there. The worst thing is when you don't even realise. And if you go home, you've done your night's work, you've swept up upstairs, everything's good.
Even caused off a leak.
And then it went off a leak. It was just water falling on the floor.
You're trying to drop him in it or something. Is that what you're trying to do?
Oh yeah, because
Like,
I remember we had a bit of back and forth about this, because I remember because I said earlier I'd done a few days in that with them. We used to drain down in the car parks into bins.
Is he allowed to say this?
And you would drain down into a bin.
Like,
so if you're working somewhere,
flying out,
you get your bin, and then you shut your valve off, and then because you drain down where the valve set is, the pipe could run for miles. And then, you know, a sprinkler system is designed a bit like plumbing to have lovely fall, and if it's all installed right, it'll all fall back to your drain point, and therefore you can go and work over there 3 miles away. And there'd be no water. But the reality is the sparky put his tray in, so you've had to box your pipework up and down, and you've got dead legs, and you can have a dead leg with loads of water. So as soon as you drop your first head, snatch a valve in so you're in control of it. I always say you're either in control of the water or the water's in control of you. And there's nothing worse than having water control. You see it going absolutely everywhere, and you're like, oh my God. Get a valve in, so you just dump it into a wheelie bin, and you wheel the wheelie bin outside or to a train, tip your wheelie bin out, and you know that can make or break a night's work. You know, you could change, 50 heads and have virtually no water in it, fly through it. You could go to another day, change 2 sprinkler heads, and you're there, bucketing water left, right, and centre. You know, some shopping centres where they have like a, like some shops you'll go in, they're on different floors, and sometimes you go in the shop and they'll have like a mezzanine. They'll go up and they'll have their stock rooms, or they might have another floor. Well, back of house, you'll have that floor, but there might be no drains there whatsoever. You can do some work in the shopping centre, and you've got to get rid of all that water. So you're there into a wheelie bin, into the goods lift, down to the loading bay, dump it, backwards and forwards. Like I say, you never know. You know, you could be working there and you could be working there. You could work, something take you 10 minutes, something take you 3 hours. And that's the hard part of getting started, particularly on a night job.
So that store cupboard, they was just draining down then?
Yeah, no, we were just doing some works in the car park, rerouting from sprinklers. And water went on the floor, think nothing of it. Sweep it up afterwards, didn't you? You know, you got a choice of, like say, into your wheelie bin, go out, empty it, into your wheelie bin, go out, empty it.
Or
the car park, water on the floor, we'll sweep up after.
Yeah.
Or you get the guy who drives around on the little water machines and hoovers up, give him a drink, and he'll have a little sweep up of the car park for you, no problem. But that one was a bit of a nightmare. Into a temporary store downstairs.
Oh yeah, what was in there? I forgot.
What was
Just
in there?
boots, yeah.
About £6 worth of stock. That's what was in there.
Getting him in trouble.
That's the bloke who ruined all the stock.
What was I going to say? That it's gone out of my head now.
I think you've got lots of drunken stories in your head, and you're just coming up with bits and pieces of them when they see
what came in my head was that bloody, not just now, but that stupid comment I made about the wildfires. I was like, let's take that out. That sounds so...
No, we're not taking that
That sounds so...
No way. No way. That's
well, it's
staying in.
okay. There's a wildfire encircling my house. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Don't evacuate me. I've got a sprinkler system.
Do you think being more having a course on sprinklers will help getting people in the trade?
Absolutely. Firstly, the more people you get in the trade, the better you'll drive the quality of the trade. Yeah, and the better you drive the quality of the trade, the more enticing it is for those people to come in. So, firstly, you've got an influx of people, better quality work. The more people you got in doing about it, the more people understand. Like, I understand about sprinklers. You know, bet your bottom dollar, my wife, my kids, everyone who goes out with me knows everything about sprinklers. You walk around the shopping centre, it's like anyone, isn't it? I've done that one. I went out with my daughter the other week. I said, Tilly, you see that shop over there? She goes, yes, I know, Dad. You've done the sprinklers.
Every single tradesman, didn't they? See that house over there? I'll put the boiler in there.
You done that at a comedy set, wasn't you?
Yeah.
The woman had to pretend she was a tradeswoman.
She had to pretend she was a trade wife. She ruined me there and all because she didn't take
I do that every
instructions.
time we drive home. Not every time, but I've done the flats just by Gravesend.
Everyone does.
Oh, that's a long time since you did any work, Keiran. Come on.
Yeah, they probably ripped them boilers out now.
Huh?
They probably ripped them boilers out now. put
Luckily,
new
I
ones
think the builder done a runner, so I'd never got any callbacks.
Was that before or after he paid you?
After. Probably one of the last biggest jobs.
What was I going to say? I was going to ask.
I was going to ask that. It's gone out of my head now.
I was going to say, yeah, you do dry risers as well, didn't you? We discussed
Dry
that.
risers,
Dry
wet
risers.
risers.
I worked on dry risers. You didn't know what a dry riser was, did you?
There's a riser that pipes go up. I'll tell you, do you want me to tell you?
Go on,
What
tell
it
us.
is?
Yeah, go on.
I forgot. It's a dry pipe up there. One connection at the bottom for the fire brigade. The rest for each floor to connect their long hose.
Well done, yeah. And
yeah,
how many
you do
floors?
business.
I was a plumber.
How many floors?
If you go over, is it 6 or 10? You go over a certain amount of floors, then you need to
10,
pump
innit?
in it. 10 is it?
There's a general rule 10, yeah.
Over 10, yeah.
Because
Under that,
basically
you put a mains
the
pipe.
pump at the tender, it can't push pressure up the building.
So for anyone that might want to get into sprinklers, how would they get into it?
What we want to know is how much money you earn.
Well,
let's try and get you into it. This is a really good job. So how much you get paid today?
I bust me up for minimum wage. Yeah. It's my bit for the society. No, listen, it's like any trade.
Yeah.
You know, find your local sprinkler fitter. You know, go and Google. Whether you go on the professional route, look on LinkedIn. There'll be people advertising everywhere.
You never advertise, though, do you?
Never advertise.
You always
Never
try and
advertise
find-
for work. And never advertise for labour.
You are
Because-
known as the sprinkler guy. That's why.
The problem with putting an advert
Are you
in.
looking for anyone at the minute?
You get everyone. Always looking. You know, anyone knows a good sprinkler engineer, I'll find them work. Done and dusted. There we go.
I don't know. Maybe I could become a good sprinkler engineer.
You hate plumbing.
You ain't plumbing, you're sprinklering, innit?
Should try it.
Save
Me and
lives.
him
Yeah,
would come
we
as
save
a-
lives.
We come as a pair.
You know what they say. You know,
You could
when
be
you
the
go,
labourer.
when you get
That's what they work in
described
pairs.
as, oh, you're just like a plumber, and you go, oh, plumber, come here, put his hand down your bog and unblock your toilet. I'll save lives. You know, there's a difference.
Save love. I save
We give
lives.
people eating. Are you going to be cold tonight? Or you got your eating on?
Put a jammer on. Put a jammer on.
I save lives. I save people gas as well.
That's what I was going to ask you. Has any one of your installations had to put out a fire before?
Yeah,
It has.
yeah. It was a really
That's
good.
the thing, isn't it? You
It's
fix
a
something,
really
you
good
don't
story.
even use it.
It's a really good story.
But
So
don't say that, because that's the
Down at
impression.
the
I don't
O2.
quite get 'em.
Yeah.
down at the O2, there's an insurance inspection, and this particular restaurant, they said, you know, there's a shortage of sprinklers in here. They've done some mods or whatever. So I got sent down for a company based in Birmingham, and I went down and done a survey myself, pointed out about where I reckon they need about 5 sprinklers, just dotted here and there. And whilst I was there, I thought, I've never been down here before. It's a lovely little restaurant. There's a all you can eat barbecue restaurant. It was really, really nice. So I recommended it to a young fellow who's working for me, who's taking a bird out. I said, good thing is you go in there, you know exactly what you're spending. So the following weekend, on the Mondays, come to work, he went, oh, you're out of order. What are you on about? He goes, that restaurant you said, he said, they're shut down. I'm like, what are you on about? They're shut down. I was only there a few weeks ago, putting a few more sprinklers in here. No, they're shut down. I had to go somewhere else instead. It cost me a fortune. Lo and behold, I went down there, got a call, a couple of days later, there'd been a fire. And what had happened, the ductwork hadn't been cleaned out properly and caught fire. And one of the sprinklers that went off, it was only about 3 sprinklers went off, and one of the sprinklers that went off, put this fire out, was one of the ones that I'd been down on the insurance inspection, highlighted I needed one over there.
Oh, really?
And it put it out.
So if that weren't there, it could have been a bit different.
Yeah, it could have been. Could have been a lot different. But like I say, what it was, that was over 2 floors. Within a week, they'd corded off the downstairs. Yeah, carried on trading upstairs, and had a refurb downstairs. And that's the difference. A make or break
They
a
must
business.
have loved you for putting that extra sprinkler in.
That's what we do.
Did you get a free meal?
Well, you say that. So I've been there before, right? So we had a call out. I've done some work there, and I got a phone call. Said, Pete, there's a leak down at that restaurant. I said, send me some photos, will you? I very rarely have a day off, and I'd had a day off. And I went, that's not me. They weren't nowhere near it. And the thing is with a call out, quite often, when you go down there and it's not sprinklers, trying to get paid from someone when you haven't actually done anything is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, because
right?
they look at you haven't done anything
You
to
ain't done
warrant your
it.
money.
Now, I've drove from Dartford down to the O2.
Yeah.
So I said to this fella, I said, listen, I'll tell you what, you tell them, but I'll come down and have a look, yeah? And rather than pay me, I'll come down with the missus, I'm out with the missus as it is, and we'll have lunch. Well, they went, all right, so I'll get down there.
That's a good idea,
the missus,
yeah.
and my daughter Eva. We went down there. I've gone straight up, pad saw, cut a little bit of an hole out in the plasterboard ceiling. Yeah, the air conditioning wasn't lagged properly, and it was condensation. Right. So I go straight back down. The missus now, she's waiting literally at reception having a coffee. And I said, we'll go and sit down and have a bit of lunch. So goes to pay, and I said to the waitress who's serving, I said, listen, it's been agreed that I won't be paying for my lunch today. I said, I've come to have a look at your sprinklers. And she went, well, nobody's told me. I said, not a problem. I said, you've got 2 choices. I said, whilst I'm eating my dessert, I said, you go and make whatever call you need. And I said, when you come back, I'll either won't pay for my meal or I'll pay for it. And if I pay for it, I'm going to bill for the work that I'm up for a call out.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've got my meal for free, so that was nice. But it just so happened I was on my day off, going out for lunch, and I went out for lunch. What could you want?
Maybe I should start doing more work in restaurants.
I've got discount off food before, did I tell you?
I tell you what, talk about stretch
And
out.
I got noticed this morning. And I got noticed this morning
What?
at the gym. Got a text on off the job. Was you in the gym?
How did you go from, I got free stuff at a restaurant to I got noticed? Look at me.
No, because that's how I got free food, because I got noticed in Whitstable. You know about that?
Yeah, I know, because you said it
Do
on
you want me to
another
tell you
pod.
the story?
I've
He
heard
said
the
it
story.
on-
You
he
said
said
it on
it-
your last pod.
He said it on several. I don't
That your claim to fame, is it?
Yeah.
He won't
Before
stop going.
Pete got noticed from
He
the
won't
podcast.
stop going on about
It was
it.
only 2 weeks ago.
God. Oh, so are you going to get your kids into it?
Yeah, no. I'd like, as successful as I've been,
So how many you got? How many kids you got?
I'm helping the economy, you know. We're a dwindling population.
Yeah.
Got 6.
6 kids.
3 boys, 3 girls.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with lots of people, really. I'd like to think I'd like them to do something different, you know, go their own way, maybe not work so hard on building sites. But at the same time, if that's what they go into, it's the best job in the world, you know.
How old's your eldest?
My eldest girl's 17. I've got a 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old boy. And
Does your boy show any interest in it, or has he been to work with you at all?
well, it's a little bit hard getting them on the building sites when they're young.
Yeah.
So it depends on what day you have the conversation. So, for example, you'll have a conversation about him working harder at school, and then my daughter will say, well, he said he don't care about school because he's going to come and work for you anyway, right?
Right,
Which
yeah.
gets the hackles right up, doesn't it? You
Yeah.
know, as a dad.
Yeah.
Knuckle down, son.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they want to do, really. You try and get a kid to tell you what you want to do. And again, that goes back to how I got in the industry in the first place. You never sort of really went, oh, I want to be this when I'm older. You go, oh, I'm going to have to go work when I'm older, and you know.
But that shows kids nowadays, I'm not saying your kids, but a lot of kids, they get the opportunity, but they're not taking it. Because we went into trades because we knew a family member to get us in there, so we just done it. But now it's like they don't even want to take the opportunity.
Put it this way, if my boy ain't got a job, he's going to work.
Yeah,
you know, he's probably in the wrong household because if, you know, some people go, oh, I can't find any work. Well, I'm in an industry that's screaming out for people.
Yeah.
You know, there won't be no one in the house not going to work. So I might incentivise them to go and find a job doing something different because, you know, everyone will work.
Is all your kids into TikTok and all this malarkey? Oh, and his eyes closed. Look at the way his eyes closed. The pain. The pain.
So it is me, right? I'm that generation that, you know, when mobile first came out, me and 2 of my mates, it went 3 ways on one mobile phone because, you know, it was expensive back then, wasn't it? You know, and I used to have a Walkman. And then when you got really flash, you had a Discman, which when you went walking about, a CD used to jump in down the other, right? You try and explain to your kids, right, that you could choose whatever music you like, whenever you like, and do whatever you like. The biggest thing I hate about TikTok and YouTube, Americanisms.
Yeah.
Oh, when my kids start talking, you know, zebra, this, that, and the other. That's an American. No, ain't Dad. I'm like, yeah, it is. Speak English. You're in England.
Yeah.
No. Yes, they are into TikTok. I despise it all. You know, I despise it all. Social media is it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Yeah, social media used in the right way is fabulous. But it's just so open to abuse. I mean, the trouble I've had with kids when they say things to people or other people saying things to them.
Oh, you mentioned something. I don't know if you want to mention it, but you said something the other day in the chat, didn't you, about getting the eyelash something done.
No, it's just an example. For example, so my daughter, you know, they go and get their nails done. She's going to get her eyelashes done. You know, she came home. Oh, look at me, Dad. My wife had dropped it down there, and it was at somebody's house, and I'm like, so I said to her, so why are you going to somebody? Well, I saw her on Insta, didn't I? I went, well, you came around someone else, babe. I'm like, you know, I don't know who they are. And she goes, well, there's shops, they're rubbish. They do this, that, and the other. They're no good. You know, she's really good. I went, well, how do you know she's good? Well, I've seen her Insta. And for me, I'm just trying to get my head round. You know, I'm a dinosaur by now, aren't I, really? And I'm like, but you're going around somebody's house, a stranger that nobody knows. And you think that's the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, for me, is the danger of... Now, it turns out, totally coincidentally, I knew the person whose house she went round.
Right.
I know her, but I didn't know that's where my daughter was going. My daughter didn't know her
It's all right,
before
she's
she
got a
turned up
sprinkler
round
system in her house.
But Yeah, but that's just the way of the world, isn't it? And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're going around some house, it could be anybody's house.
Yeah.
You know, around there to 10 o'clock at night, I was going mad. I was going absolutely mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just life's different now, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know.
you have to adapt to it, don't you? It's just you can't stop it.
But I think again there was a generation gap there because I'm trying to express to my daughter that I'm worried about her going round somebody's house, and she's getting defences as if to say, "Well, why are you worrying where I'm going? They're better at doing the shops now. I want no argument from me about why one was better than which one was best and which one weren't.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, well, how do you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I've just seen pictures. I've seen TikToks. I've seen this. I've seen that, and that just boggles me. But
Yeah.
I suppose that's something you've got to get used to, isn't it?
The thing is, it works on the other hand as well, like because the person
Who's doing well
doesn't know who's coming round to their house.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's just a little bit like.
That's the gig economy, though, isn't it? Right? You know, advertise your wares, and someone comes round and pays you a dough.
Yeah.
Got to be careful, isn't it?
It's all moving. It's all moving very fast. My kids watch a lot of YouTube and like you say about Americanisms and that, and what it is all these overprivileged American teenage kids, right? And they're all sorting out their own YouTube channels and all
The
that.
Ninja Kids, yeah, and the kids they done that all on their own.
Oh yeah.
They've got some parents in marketing and got these big houses
Do you know
and
what I mean?
loads of dough.
And all I do is I'll hear it and it'll be one of the kids. All he says is, "Oh my god!" And I think they've got that freaking program on.
When your daughter goes, Dad, can you buy me 3 pallet loads of Orbeez so we can put them into water and see what it looks like in the garden? No.
Yeah.
Well, they did it.
Yeah. It's madness, isn't it? It's madness. But
Absolutely.
that's the way. That's the way of the world,
The way
isn't
the
it?
world's going, yeah.
But you know Keiran through the old rugby, don't you?
Yeah, I know Keiran through the rugby club.
You
Well,
still
not people.
playing? Are you still playing? Are you?
No, it's
I'll
fun- it's fun
always
still out here.
have said, playing is a very, very loose term. I joined the rugby club because of my son, and he's always had that one over me. I played rugby for longer than you, Dad, but I'm too old, really. I love it. The problem is with rugby, joining a rugby club, it's some good, some bad. So you get there, as I did as a sort of middle-aged sort of fat bloke, and you take your rugby seriously, and you slim right down, you look really well. And the longer you're there, you start drinking more. And all of a sudden, you become a middle-aged fat guy who plays rugby. And you drink, right? And then you go to the stage where you can't be bothered to play rugby anymore. And you can become a fatter bloke because you're drinking more and you're not playing. So that's the stage
more
I'm at, I'm
calories,
afraid.
yeah.
And I watch people like Keiran, young and fit, running around playing rugby. Happy days.
It is
Leave
a
it for
nice
the
game
youngsters.
to watch, yeah.
My daughter plays rugby. She's right into rugby.
Oh, girls in rugby now, that's the way forward. They say that watching England, for example, the girls will play a more expansive, free-flowing rugby, a lot more technical rather than the bash and the hitting, although they can do that as well.
Oh, they can, yeah.
Yeah, but, girls rugby, at our rugby club, there's loads of girls playing. Girls
Yeah.
in every single age group.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
6 in the under 10s.
It's good.
We almost get their own squad.
It is good that they're doing that because, like we say, all this TikTok nonsense and all this rubbish. That it's better to get them out there doing these outdoor sports.
There's nothing better. My
It's a great
my youngest
community,
daughter,
isn't it?
she's 9, and she drives me mad with TikTok and watching YouTube and this and the other. But you say, "Come, we're going rugby." Off she goes. Where's my boots? Where's my boots? Where's my gum shield?
Yeah.
And you get them
Yes,
out there,
yeah.
smashing up. I like it because most rugby clubs, they're not pushing the girls enough. Yeah, it's a tick box exercise to say to the RFU or to everyone, everyone, we're all on caps, we're all welcome. And my rugby club, Dartford Valley Rugby Club, we'll put a team out specifically loaded with girls against the boys because they'll play mixed rugby up to age 12. Now, most tournaments we'll go to, we'll play other teams. Normally, it's quite often you'll get no girls in the team. You might get one, and on a rare occasion you might get 2. But we'd put 5 or 6 girls in a 7-a-side game. We'd put 6 girls, and you see the boys come along and go, girls team, this is going to be great, and then the girls smash them.
Yeah.
Absolutely glorious. Or, like I say, they've developed their hands better because technically they'll listen more. Girls, boys just think they're great, don't they?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder, I think, to drum a technical skill into a boy than it is into a girl, because they just listen more until they get to that equilibrium, if you like, where they realise they want to do a bit better. But
That's where for the sprinklers, he tries to scrape all the youth. Any youth he can get his hands on, he come do sprinklers.
Why not? Why not? They invariably they haven't heard of sprinklers until they come and meet me in rugby.
If there was more noise about sprinklers, there'd be a lot of people that would jump into it. There's so many people looking for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Like, would you ever think about doing that? Like, trying to shout about it more?
I'd love to. I'll definitely. I mean, in my own small way, for example, at the rugby club or at Dartford, if you like. Yeah, I'm always shouting about sprinklers. Everyone knows. I was Pete the Sprinkler guy, like you say, because it's almost like a micro. Any sports club, it's all elements of site, isn't it? Bump into builders, plasterers, whatever. Every trade, you name it, there'll be your local sports club. And their kids and this, that, and the other. So within that smaller community, if you like, they'll know a little bit more about sprinklers than a club that ain't got a sprinkler company in there. But I'd love to get more into like the training aspect of it. But that's the problem you got is if you train someone up, they're always jumping ship for £1 elsewhere, and you're going to put all that effort in, and when you want to earn that bang back, that's the point where they'll go elsewhere and earn more money. So unless as an industry we change and it's done similar in other trades and through an apprenticeship, through a school or a college or whatever, it needs to become really widespread.
What about an independent training school? Could you set something like that up?
Oh, absolutely.
Or look at doing something like that?
I'd love to do that.
That
but
way then you
I mean, for me, that's what I do sort of almost, if you like, when I sort of retire, when you're not there to make money, because then you're doing it for the love of the trade. And, I don't think there's much money in education, is there, at the bottom line?
But you get like probably like government funded or something to do. If they were trying to, say if there's a shortage of like sprinkler guys or whatever in the country, surely it'd be
There's got to be someone doing it, like a training school for sprinklers.
Mate,
They're not.
It's not.
That's what I mean. You're missing the trick here.
I went on a training course recently into Belgium, but it was a manufacturerer's training course. So I went out there and I met a guy from America. And honestly, what he told me about how it's done in America was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So you all have to do this. It's like I say, it's a lot through unions and stuff like that. But to work in sprinklers out there, you've got to come through this central training model, if you like.
Right.
And the way that training model is, people go in, they'll go in to do this course, and all different companies, they'll come and take you. Say, for example, you become an apprentice sprinkler guy, One company will come in and you'll go and do some work with them. And then you go and do some work, and then you do 1 day a week at this college-type place, and the other days of the week, you're with different companies. Good thing is, all of those companies will have met you, and you'll have worked with all of those companies. So whilst you're doing that training, you'll see the way that the companies work. You'll speak with the fitters. You'll know and understand how they look after you as a company. And at the same time, all those companies, they'll see you going around. So when you actually turn out, if you like, and you've done your fully apprenticeship, it's almost like you've been through an interview process with every company there is. So every company needs to be on their game so that people will go and work for them.
So is that like, do they have to pay for that sort of course, or is that sort of like, is that a funded project?
I think it's sort of like internally funded through all of those companies, because
at the end of the day,
it's one, like I say, unless everyone's involved, no one's involved.
See, that's
but that's like big box thinking, isn't it? Really.
But why wouldn't they do something?
It'd need to be linked to the government if you're going to do like a training centre, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but don't they do that sort of thing for like
linked to the?
No, that's their only independent body. But like they're talking about pushing air source and all this stuff. Why wouldn't like companies do like say Mitsubishi, like Valent and all that? Do that.
All the manufacturers need to push it, don't they? Really?
Put people through because they need engineers, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And push it like that.
Better trained workforce. You know, you're going to have less problems with your product being installed incorrectly, and people going, "Oh, that's rubbish. That's no good."
Not only that, then you're actually being sort of like a rep for the companies when you go out into the field, aren't you?
Exactly.
Because then you can go, well, I can recommend this company. Do you know what I mean? You're sort of repping for them, so they get something out of you, putting you through that training process of their product. Yeah, they should do something like that. But everything over here is course after course you pay out for. Some of them have got government funds, I know, but like it just seems that they're not coming together to try and produce a workforce. Do you know what I mean?
So in the industry, for example, you get a designer, do designer sprinklers, there's courses available for them, you know, so you can go and do that. It's easy to get an apprentice sprinkler designer because there's a recognised route from training to take them. There's no recognised route for a sprinkler fitter or a sprinkler engineer.
Yeah.
And as soon as there is a recognised route, people will be flooding the jobs. You know, I don't understand
Pardon,
this.
he said. Pardon the pun.
Pardon the pun.
I think they've done it after all that, what happened and stuff. But it's crazy. Well,
It's been interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
Bit
to.
different.
Yeah,
I
different.
think it's good to share a trade, like you say, it's not that known, so it's give people an insight of the sprinkler game.
Absolutely. It's trade apps. It's not plumbing apps, is it?
Exactly.
You know,
Get all different trades.
all different trades.
Even that deals with water.
Yeah, and even though you think it will
And you still
protect you
flood
against a forest fire.
Stations. That's coming out.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
We're referencing it everywhere.
Kieran thinks.
Can I just?
I might even go training tonight just so I can tell everyone.
Can I make myself sound better?
Kieran says,
If all houses had sprinkler systems in Australia, there wouldn't be no forest fires. That's
No,
what he said.
no. Can I just say? I didn't say it would stop wildfires.
No.
no, you'd be
But
safe
if
in
the
your
fire-
house
yeah.
in the middle of a forest
We'll be all
fire.
right in our house.
It just it
There's
burned
a
the outside of the house, just not
forest
inside.
fires all around us, but we've got a sprinkler system, and at the same time we're getting our soap suds out and giving ourselves a little wash here
I
and there.
think that's
Yeah,
got to be the most stupid thing I've said on this podcast.
yeah, and you've said some stupid things.
Once we stop filming, I can tell you some other stupid things you said.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Pete.
cheers, Pete.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks,
Pleasure.
mate.
Yeah,
I
giving
appreciate
us
Scraping
it.
the bottom of the barrel this week, are we?
Nah, it's good. I enjoyed it. It's just like it's nice to
No, I think
learn
it's good
about
to get
different
all
things.
trades done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cheers, Pete.
Cheers, mate.
All right, this has been another episode of Off the Job podcast.
Thanks for watching the show on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and all other streaming platforms.
If it's your first time watching or not, make sure to subscribe below and follow us on all the big social media stuff like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
For our overtime show on Monday, send us in your stories and comments for it to be read out on the show. Send it in via email, direct message through our social media accounts, or WhatsApp us on 07457 406 259.
And we'll see you on the next episode.